David de Guzman inside the NBC4 Digital Center for the latest edition of NBC4 Sports Extra. A lot to talk about, not a lot of time. Surprise, surprise, though, we're going to be talking first with football. We are into the second week of training camp, fall camp, whatever you like to call it. Ryan Day calling it Moving Week, similar to how there's Moving Day in the PGA Tour. To talk all things football, we bring in, of course, the panel, Whitney Harding and Joan Nugent. A lot coming out today, so I'll let you guys choose. Do you want to talk about stadium stuff, or do you want to talk about quarterbacks first?
Can we first talk about how apparently we didn't get the dress code memo? Look at this guy.
Blue, I don't know.
We're over here, just a couple
Some days
of
I'm casual, some days I'm not. So
it's true.
Okay,
true.
Now Matterham, what do you want to do? Stadium or football?
I mean, there isn't anything new really related to any of the position battles at this point, but there is with the game day experience.
Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, let's.
Oh, okay. So we'll do game day experience then. Okay, sure. So game day experience. The game day experience will look a tad bit different as Ross Bjork announcing the Traditions Evolved memo here. Kind of the top three things to look at. The Victory Bell ringer. Obviously, we know that the Victory Bell rings with the Alpha Phi Omega members post-game after a Buckeyes win. However, now pre-game, there will be the Victory Bell, and there will always be a special guest that does that. And, of course, who better to start this tradition than Archie Griffin? He will do the pre-game Victory Bell for the first game, which is, of course, Ohio State against Texas. Other new things, there is the towel. I'm going to let that one just sit there. The towel, yeah, that's kind of self-explanatory there. And color outs, there's going to be three of them this year. We'll start with the Scarlet the Shoe with the opener on August 30th against Texas. Then there will be the helmet stripe color out, and then wear black for the game against Penn State on November 1st. The helmet stripe one, by the way, is September 13th against Ohio. Before I continue any further, let's hear from Ross Bjork on kind of the thinking behind all of these changes.
Look, the loyalty and passion is unmatched, right? But it just felt like we were missing something for people to kind of grab onto, whether that is a physical thing, whether that's a song, whether that's really kind of showcasing the true history, but then how do we produce it more for entertainment?
Yeah, okay, so he's got a point. And, I've spent one season here covering Ohio State football. And while I like going to the games, I did feel like there was something missing from the game day experience. So I think this was kind of an answer toward that. But what do you guys think about these changes? I think it's going to be a lot, it's not that much different, but it's a lot to do on day one, considering there's no dress rehearsal before this game against Texas.
I mean, I feel like games were a bit formulaic. Is that maybe the right word? It's like you knew that this was going to happen before, and then during this time out, you're probably going to have this kind of a celebration. Then during this time out, you're going to have this kind of a celebration. And I'm all for tradition, and I think it's important. I think that's what makes college sports super special, is because there are these traditions that have been around for so long. I also love what Ross and what they're doing is they're keeping those traditions. If anything, they're highlighting them more and making them more impactful, while also trying to, like Ross said many times, it's entertainment. Part of this is entertainment. It's not just a game, it's entertainment.
Yeah, trying to bring more value to the experience for everybody who takes a full day and sets it aside to come to an Ohio State game. Comes down early.
Yeah, you got to come early because they're all at noon, so you got to come early.
Get the coffee ready.
I said it.
Okay. I mean, and that also, that is a big reason why we're talking about this.
Yes.
It's because of all these new games, the television package. There's so many great night games at the Shoe through the years. I mean, the Texas game 20 years ago was phenomenal.
I wasn't even a fan of either team, and I remember watching it.
Yeah, it was absolutely awesome. Obviously, they had the night game against Notre Dame a few years ago, and those opportunities are just, few and far between now with the new TV package. So, folks are still kind of waking up at noon on Saturday. So, I
need something.
Yeah.
I'm one of those folks. And I thought one of the coolest parts that they did was, besides like bringing the traditions and making them, more at the forefront, was some new ideas. I thought the fan Buckeye leaf idea that Ross brought up was great. in case you haven't heard what that is, basically they want fans to be able to get a Buckeye leaf for the shoe for extra effort. So if there's a false start on a third down, a forced timeout on a third down, something kind of like that.
Involve the crowd in there.
Correct. I thought that was great. I thought that's so cool. That's a great new facet to bring in while still embracing an Ohio State tradition, Buckeye leaf stickers, but making it, the whole stadium.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Brutus
brilliant.
will have an iconic entrance. They're going to do some stuff with the Block O section, kind of. There's going to be some movement around there. So, I mean, a lot to kind of, it's going to be interesting. It's going to make kind of the theatrics of the game itself part of that storyline, because we weren't busy enough already covering Ohio State versus Texas. So, yeah.
And I think it's going to be interesting with the bell, the whole idea of
That's cool.
ringing it right before a third down or a key moment in the game. That's sort of like the signifier in a sense to be like, okay, let's go, like make some noise.
Yeah.
It's time, instead of, for years we've always heard PA announcers say, it's third down.
I mean, my first college football game at Syracuse, we literally got our keys out because it's a key play, third down.
good.
So, yeah, I mean.
I think that we always here at Ohio State, I think there's always been the bells, but I don't think it was the bell. I think it was probably Hell's bells through the speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's the bell,
Yeah, you're right.
which is going to be cool. I think that, I love that. I think that's cool. It's not, Hell's bells.
Right. Let's talk about the quarterbacks. Not really any real news, but we did get to hear from them. And Ryan Day saying, the competition's still going. They're still, competing. It is interesting that, we're getting into week 2 and, I think we have an idea, like we said last week, we have an idea of probably who it's going to be, but it's still safe to say like it's still relatively open. And I think, there's still a lot of learning to be done because this is going to be a new role.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately Julian is still going to be the starting quarterback. I don't think anything has changed in terms of that. But also remember that this is an extremely important part of camp, and they are sharing reps with the first team, both him and Lincoln. And there's a lot, Lincoln's benefiting in a big way as well. Like they're both benefiting from this competition. So I think in terms of, trying to make it through a full season and having 2 good quarterbacks, that's what they're doing right now. They are building that situation. And, I mean, last home game of the year last year, Will Howard, maybe not himself, but apparently everybody thought he was still the best option when he wasn't that good. So maybe trying to avoid a situation like that in the future.
I think we're going to see them both this year. I really do. I think, I don't know, maybe not the first week. Maybe the 2 games after that first game, we'll see them both. But I really think prepare to see them both. Not like one gets hurt and we have to see them. No, I really do think they will at one point. Each of them will get out there and play. One thing I thought that was interesting today, I forget which quarterback was saying it, was how this is such a healthy competition and that they really are all, whether it's, I don't know, true or not, but they are saying whether that they are all supporting each other in this competition and it's not toxic. It's nothing like, negative or bad vibes or anything. Like they truly are all.
There's no ego there.
Correct. And I think that is important because not only does that help with reps, but it helps build a culture of an entire team. Because let's face it, the quarterback is like kind of how a quarterback goes, how a team goes. So I think that is really important to hear that at least that's how they feel.
And I think that the friendly dynamic that they have built this off season, comes a little bit from spring because now during fall camp, they do have 6 quarterbacks at this point. Yeah. Really 3 guys in the mix in terms of potentially starting.
And it's a long season. So, I mean, you want to be prepared for all those things.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that in the spring, they only had 3 quarterbooks on the roster. So those
That's
guys
true.
were together, spending time
lot.
together. They were bonding. This summer, Lincoln and Julian went golfing. We know last off season, a lot of golf for the Buckeyes.
A lot of
golf. There's more golf this summer. So I think that's part of it. They truly enjoy spending time with each other. And Lincoln kind of described it where, hey, there's parts of Julian's game that are, he's better at some things.
Sure.
So it forces me to get better in those areas. And then vice versa. It's the same way. Lincoln can do things that Julian can't, and Julian's trying to chase him in those ways.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get some answers pretty soon with how that's going to go. We are already out of time with this roundtable. We got Tyler Parsons on the way, GM of the Clippers. He's coming up, but thanks again to Whitney Harding and Joe Nugent. We'll be back here on NBC4 Sports Extra. All right, we're back here on NBC4 Sports Extra. Baseball season still in full swing, but just really only a couple of weeks left. And to talk more baseball here in Columbus, we bring in Tyler Parsons. But before we do that, let's get to know the general manager in his first year in Central Ohio.
You know, I think for me, it checked all the boxes. It was the right community, it was the right stadium, it was the right organization, it was closer to home for our family, which was a big part. Again, I tell people I'm from Michigan. I'm not a Michigan fan. I always have that caveat, but obviously being closer to home was a big deal for us.
For Tyler Parsons, all the stars aligned for him to become the new general manager of the Columbus Clippers. His career has taken him across different levels of minor league baseball, most recently spending 2 seasons with the Durham Bulls.
I've helped build a mound at some point in time. I've cooked concessions. I've operationally, picking up trash and just knowing all the facets of our operation and kind of having some involvement and some trust and just knowing that we have people here that do those things at a high level.
Parsons takes over an organization that's become a vital pipeline for the Cleveland Guardians, sending the likes of Kyle Manzardo, Jean-Kenzie Noel, and Daniel Schneemann to the majors last season.
I think from our end, it's all about creating the best possible atmosphere here for these players to develop, right? We want to be a benefit for their development so that when they show up to this ballpark each and every day, they don't have to worry about anything else besides being the best possible player they can be for the Columbus Clippers, and obviously hoping to grow their career to the major league level.
And when it comes to creating the best game day atmosphere, Parsons hopes to create a stronger connection between the players and the fans.
But trying to give people, a sneak peek of what it means to be a Clipper from behind the scenes and really letting our players' personalities and then just the fun, unique things about being a Columbus Clipper, whether it's, obviously the bells we have and the hot dog races and Dime a Dog, what are things that are uniquely Columbus that we can bring to the more national spotlight.
And we bring in Tyler Parsons here in our NBC4 Digital Center. Tyler, thanks for the time, man. Really appreciate you taking some time during. I feel like every week is like a busy part of the season for you, but this is cool to have you here in studio with us. Your first year here, you had a vision of what you were going to bring to the Clippers. So I want to ask you, now that we're 3-4 months into your tenure here, what do you think has gone right? And what do you think has gone, could be better right now in your first year?
David, happy to be here and really appreciate you having me on. And the season is a grind. It's a marathon, really going from March all the way through September. So we're kind of toward the tail end here. Got 24 games left starting tomorrow, but started me right off with a loaded question like that. I like that. So
we ask the hard questions here on NBC4 Sports Extra.
Absolutely. So we're obviously my first season here, really about 5 months now here in Columbus with my family and I, and getting acclimated to the Clippers and experience and kind of getting started really 2 months or so before our season started, and a lot of it's just observational stuff at first, trying to get a grasp of what our game day atmosphere and the overall experience is like, and what are our strong suits? What are some areas that we need to work on overall? So, I think from a pure structure standpoint, I've been really encouraged by, again, our attendance so far this season. It's been really, really strong. We're a top 5 team in minor league baseball right now in overall attendance. That trend has continued when we have great weather overall. We've seen fans show out in droves. We've had some fun promotions overall, I think, that have really drove attendance, but also enhanced the overall fan experience throughout the stadium. And, we're able to kind of learn and make tweaks, mid-season, mid-homestand sometimes, and be really, really nimble and agile with some of those changes. So, things that could improve on. Obviously, the weather, especially early on in April, was a massive challenge. I think
we should build a dome at some point.
Yeah, we should build a dome. I tell people, I was, my previous history, I was with the Tampa Bay Rays affiliates, and then they got hammered by it. So even domes aren't safe anymore, I feel like. But
we'll figure something out.
Yeah, the weather's been a major challenge, I think, but that comes in any given year. You might have some of those challenges. And then, obviously the ebbs and flows with being a major league affiliate team. Our on-field performance, we got some things obviously to work on a little bit right now. We've had a lot of movement up and down with Cleveland, a lot of new faces right now. So, we were in the playoff hunt last year right now. We just came off a series in Jacksonville where, again, we had some challenges that we were facing there and lost more games than we probably wanted to. But, again, overall, it's about developing players to go up to Cleveland here. We obviously want to win. That's not always in our cards or in our control.
Yeah.
But the overall fan experience and attendance I've been really happy with so far. We just need to stop raining in Ohio, you know?
It seems to me that what you've been able to do is kind of create and continue an environment that's been going on for years now. We did talk about before the season how, on paper, the shoes you're filling is pretty hard to do because your predecessor, Ken Schnacky, has been around for nearly half a century. Now a president emeritus. He did make a point, though, that when he turned the keys over to you, that this would be your team that you'd be running. However, of course, he's been around, and I wonder for you, what have you maybe taken away from him as you kind of continue this transition? What are some of the biggest lessons that you may have learned from a guy who's obviously been doing this for a while?
Yeah, and it's a major benefit to me, obviously, coming in here and having that transition. It's somewhat unique in this sense, but Ken and I have had a great relationship and obviously massive shoes to fill. I mean, he's a staple not only for the Clippers but for the sports community in Columbus and for professional baseball, all over the place here. So, what he's been for me again is not only a sounding board, obviously going through some changes or adjustments or things that I want to do, and then just the massive stockpile of historical knowledge he has. Right? I mean, you've been in a place for almost 50 years. You helped build the stadium that we're in right now, like. The historical knowledge to go back and say, hey, Ken, 5 or 6 years ago, do you remember what we did on this day right here? Why was the attendance so high on this day? And trying this promotion or that promotion or, this ticket sales strategy or who should I know in the community? And, how can we form some of these relationships and have more collaboration overall? Like, he's just been a great conduit and a great sounding board, in addition just having a wealth of knowledge that I can kind of tap into all the time. And quite frankly, it's just saved me a lot of time rather than having to go track down some of these answers. Like I've got the professor right here, right down the hallway sometimes where I can just call him, wherever and kind of get some of the information and get those answers. So been an amazing blessing to have Ken still around and be able to pick his brain on a daily basis.
One of the biggest traditions of, Clippers baseball games is, of course, the Tuesday night Diamond Dogs. And we've talked about this off camera. I'm not going to delve into, my opinion on it. I think it's a great promotion. I think it gets people out there. I wonder for you, before you got here, you had an idea of, okay, Diamond Dog, definitely kind of explains itself, but did you know what you were walking into? What was your first Diamond Dog experience like for you?
Yeah.
And how have you kind of tried to keep, the popularity going, knowing that it's also, a challenging thing to keep doing in this economy, and also maybe, think about tweaks and improvements down the road?
Yeah, Diamond Dog, I had heard about it obviously before I got here to Columbus. It's just kind of a promotion, it's been going on for a long time. And obviously, when I was running some of my data and analytics on overall attendance before I got here, Columbus, tails at the very top end on Tuesday night attendance. So, when I was going through that and I looked up and got some more details on Diamond Dog, I'm like, yeah, 10-cent hot dogs, this will do it, right? This will drive some attendance. But the more time I have spent around it and now, peeling back the curtain a little bit, I think Diamond Dog to the Columbus Clippers and really to the Columbus community here, it's more than just a promotion. It's part of our identity. It's synonymous with who the Columbus Clippers are. We own the trademark Diamond Dog actually right now. I didn't know that. Yeah, it's merchandise. It's in-game races. Like hot dogs are part of our identity and part of our overall culture. With
Columbus, home of Diamond Dog.
Home of Diamond Dog. And, just for an example, we brought out a comedian, Simon Fraser, last homestand on Diamond Dog, who's from the area here. And part of his comedy bit was talking about, hey, we don't have an NFL team, but I'll tell you what we do have. We have a AAA team, and they sell hot dogs for 10 cents on Tuesdays.
In this economy.
In this economy, right? Like, it's part of that overall culture and identity for us, and it extends beyond that. And every day, I walk around that ballpark and I see a Diamond Dog shirt, or I see one of our hot dog mascots we have there, and Ricky Relish and Kelly Ketchup and Mickey Mustard, and that part's just synonymous with the Columbus Clippers. And looking forward to continuing that tradition as we go in and out. And I do think we're obviously constantly looking at ways to not only improve the overall experience we have for that, but also the product right now. So, we're talking to some hot dog suppliers out there right now about how do you get more involved, and can we improve the overall product and bring in a more nationally known, well-tasting product here to kind of improve those overall hot dogs. So we're always looking at everything, but everyone we've brought in who's kind of experienced that has left with the same feeling, was like, this is bigger than just a theme night. This is something very, very unique to the Columbus Clippers, and we don't think this can be replicable somewhere else because we've built it up over years and years and years, and it's just synonymous with our overall experience.
Yeah, I mean, you are walking around in the arena district. It's a Tuesday night. If the Clippers are home, you know, hey, I think I've got dinner tonight covered. I personally like the day after. You've been doing, I think, Dollar Day Wednesdays or something. That's been kind of cool too. When you have like, you can get you say it, the popcorn and a hot dog. Is there what else can you get for $1?
So we do sliders for $1 as well. Cool. I think overall, I think that's one of the things that we've really hung our hat on over the years with the Columbus Clippers, and we want to continue to do. Obviously, we're a Franklin County entity. We want to be family friendly, affordable. Quite frankly, we could charge more for some of the things that we have, but for us, we want to make it accessible to everyone. We want it to be affordable. We want people to be able to come to Huntington Park and be able to have a great experience, and being able to have feel like you're not. It's not something you can do one time per. You could come here multiple times and just have this overall experience from buying tickets to parking to food and beverage to retail inside our stadium. We want that to be an experience that is affordable for families.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of games this season just as a fan, and I love the ease of just literally walking into a ballpark. You don't have to have a plan per se. I'm sure you want people to buy tickets as early as possible, but what is great is that you could literally, if you don't have plans on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday, anytime during the week, you could just literally walk right up and get a ticket and enjoy that awesome atmosphere. We're going to be back with Tyler Parsons in just a moment. You are watching NBC4 Sports Extra. We're back here on NBC4 Sports Extra with Clippers general manager Tyler Parsons. And if you guys don't know this yet, you will now. The thing you got to know about Tyler Parsons is that he is actually a two-time Mario Kart champion. You won this tournament at Johnson City Brewing because your career has taken you all over the place. Was this in college, by the way?
No, this was
you were a professional.
This was professional. I was at the time I was the GM for the Johnson City Cardinals. So it was the St. Louis Cardinals rookie ball affiliate down there in the Appalachian Mountains. So.
How does one become a Mario Kart champion?
No, you play it too much, apparently. Like I said, it was. I love you bringing this up, David. So it's
the running joke. I mean, we're gonna bring it up every time.
I love it. But yeah, we played it a lot in college, and it just became what I thought a pretty decent player at Mario Kart 64. And then there was one of our local partners we had down there in Johnson City was hosting a Mario Kart 64 tournament, and they're like, hey, you should come play. I'm like, I like playing, so went down there, and sure enough, I won the whole thing. And it was kind of like, okay, like this is either, should I be excited or should I feel sad for myself right now? I don't know. But it was winning.
I think excited is the word.
Excited. Once you get locked in and you're competing, right? And whatever you're competing in anything, you want to win it. So, had a chance to win it. And then, my last year in Johnson City, I won it again when they had it there, and basically retired and left Johnson City as it's a two-time undefeated champion. But I haven't played Mario Kart 64 in a long time. But
it's never too late.
It's never too late. If anyone's trying to get rid of a Nintendo 64 somewhere.
And there's a new Switch out right now. There's a Nintendo Switch 2 that I'm sure they. I mean, I'm not the video game expert here, but I'm sure they would have made a version by now for.
There's got to be something out there. You got to have the almost broken joysticks too. And all that
I still
have
an N64, so I mean, we could always bring that back. My two follow-up questions to this are: so, what character do you always go with? Is there like a strategy when it comes to what character you use?
Yeah, it depends. To me, it always depended on the track. I was a big Yoshi Toad guy. If you're gonna cut it wide open, but if you had to bang around a little bit, I was a Donkey Kong guy,
Oh, love Donkey Kong.
Yeah, you could bang around a little bit.
I was so basic. I used Luigi all the time.
Luigi, he was in that middle range right there. Yeah, he was safe. It's a good way to put it. Luigi was a safe pick. Yeah.
What's your favorite track?
Ooh.
I love the Rainbow one because
Rainbow Road was fun. Obviously, you hit the shortcut in that one if you get lucky. My love-hate was Banshee Boardwalk. Like that was the one that it was good. But I was probably I was gone in 60 seconds. Like he had the certain car that was like Eleanor for him. Banshee Boardwalk was like mine. Like I can't tell you how many times that was probably the one I lost the most. So
what's your best tip maybe or strategy? No matter what track you're on or what character. If someone's never played Mario Kart before, which I mean, if you haven't, I don't know what you're doing with your life. but if you haven't played it before, if you're just trying to get back into it, do you have like a single tip from your Mario Kart playing days?
Yeah, I think for me it was twofold. One, you really got to understand some of the dynamics in the back, and that you never want to be in first place for you either want to blow the doors off everybody, or kind of be in that second and third range until you get in that final lap, so you can kind of play that. And then I had a best friend named Matt Bowen who we helped train a lot, and played back and forth. And I say train tongue in cheek, but I gave him a lot of L's over the years, and we had a lot of fun going back and forth. And we might have to bring it back one day.
You said had. I'm like, is he not your best friend anymore?
No, we're still best friends, but he's still bitter about all the losses I've given him over the years. So.
Gotcha. I mean, the best way to go about it is you get a bunch of hot dogs and a bunch of beers, and then you that's what you munch on during. I brought it back full circle.
Dime a dog, right?
Dime a dog meets Mario Kart. I think that's going to be the best dime a dog night ever in Clippers history. Tyler Parsons, general manager of the Columbus Clippers in his first year, wrapping that up. Tyler, really appreciate the time. Thanks as always. Best of luck to you as the season winds down, man. Really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it, David. Thanks for having me. And yeah, maybe we'll get the 64 going one day. All right. So
I think it'll be there. Appreciate the time, Tyler. And that will do it for this edition of NBC4 Sports Extra. I'm David Guzman. We will catch you next time.
Thanks for watching. For more NBC4, download the NBC4 streaming app. You'll get free 24/7 local programming streamed straight to your living room. Just search NBC4 Columbus on your Apple TV, Amazon Fire, or Roku.